Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom in Black Owned Nashville, and I am live with Shanayla Sweat, who is going to be our industry expert in all things tech and e-commerce. And I know we got a lot of e-commerce brands in the building, so I'm excited to have her coming and giving us some tips on how she was able to really grow her e-commerce brand so that we can do the same thing. I know there are a lot of people who are in that lane and looking for tips on how they can really get traction for their e-commerce brand. So I'm really happy to have you, Shanayla. How are you today?
I am well and happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's jump on and just tell us a little bit about your background and the things that you are passionate about.
Okay, so a little bit about me. So I am a Nashville native, currently in Atlanta. For me, I have been very passionate about all things tech for a long time. But I really didn't have like the people around me or the village or community to really bounce ideas off of. And so that was one of my reasons for moving to Atlanta because I was like, I need to get this stuff out of here. I want to do it. For some people, they know me as the owner and founder of A Few Wood Men, which is a wooden watch and accessories men line for Black men. So I am very big on promoting us in the community. And so with my brand, formerly we started in 2019 and we've been able to accumulate over $1 million in sales and growing. Right now, looking for investors and others to where we can expand and grow. Also, just speaking back in reference to my technology background, I'm also a techie. So I'm a non-technical techie, meaning I'm in the tech field, make tech money, do all things tech, but I'm not a coder. So I'm very much a person that works in the tech field. And I've been able to leverage what I do in tech to help others make that transition, as well as use those same practices in my e-commerce brand to grow and expand it. So a little bit of what I do, what I'm passionate about, and those are things that I can talk about all day.
Yeah, I love it. So tell us about A Few Wood Men and like what made you decide to start this business.
So if you read our story, it's based off of my grandfather. I really wanted to find him the perfect gift. He's a watch connoisseur. If you know him in person, he's super swaggy. So my grandpa is 81 years old and styles, smells, looks like he's in his 30s or 40s. So he really is up on game. And so with me being in the tech field, I always had a keen interest in entrepreneurship. I started my first business at 12. But with me gifting him this watch several years ago, it became a thing because other people started asking me where he got his watch from and then asking me if they could pay me to basically get them a watch or get something similar. And I was like, okay, this is a problem that I am obviously solving. This could be a thing. And then people are wanting to pay for it. So I knew that it could be a viable business. So that's really how it came about.
I love it. And I mean, to have started just 3 years ago or less, and to have gotten to reach that $1 million mark is a lot of folks don't see that, and they've been working on businesses, e-commerce brands for a long time, feeling discouraged. What would you say to those people?
I would say not to be discouraged, but to expect disappointments, right? You have to expect taking L's, and it's part of you being a lifelong learner. So, one thing that I feel that really benefits me is I'm always open to learning and diversifying our platform, meaning I started with watches, but that's definitely not where we're going to end. So, the vision didn't just end and start with one thing. You have to really be open to pivoting and making a transition to other fields to diversify who you cater your products to. That's the only way that you're going to grow. So I would say for those who may be discouraged, just look at it. Whatever you're selling or producing, start to look at it from a different way, a creative way, and then you may be able to serve a different audience.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about that actual journey to to the business becoming live, like in having the e-commerce brand really be a thing, to go from the idea phase to actually implementation and then to success. What were some of the steps that you took? I feel like we know all the right things to do.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we skip them. A lot of times we hear about stories of people who skipped them but still were successful. So
Right.
I'm just interested to know a little bit about what your journey was like.
So I'm a firm believer that there are multiple ways to skin a cat, right? It's different ways to end up in success and whatever your success criteria may be. However, one of the biggest things that I always push people to do is think of the problem that you're solving. So a lot of times people come to me and they're like, oh, I have this grand idea, or I can do all of these things, and that's great, but who is it helping? What problem is it solving? Because if it's not solving a problem, you're just doing something just to be doing it. And LLC Twitter has a lot of people excited about things that they can do, but you have to realize with these ideas comes work. With being a content creator, e-commerce, whatever it is, it comes work. So for me, the way that I started, once I saw that it was viable, and what I mean by that is once somebody is willing to pay for it, then you have something. So a lot of times people even come with ideas, but you have to know or test if somebody's willing to pay for it. And if you can sell to one, you can sell to many. If you can sell to many, you can sell to millions. So that's what I always stand by. So if people are willing to pay for something, then you have something to sell. It's then for you to also have the mindset of getting it in as many faces as possible. And notice when I say that wasn't my first goal wasn't to have like the best logo and the best website and the best this and doing all of these things. It was to get it in front of as many people as possible. So when I first started, I created a Shopify site. I created my logo in Canva for free 99, just put some stuff together and did the Shopify site to the best of my ability. I knew that I needed to have the products, and I knew that I needed to have different ways to check out, but I wasn't really worried about all of the other things. I feel like those are distractions. And so I was like, I just need to get this in front of people. So what I did was I was like, okay, this person offered to pay. Where can I find more people like that? And so I met those people where they were, meaning I used to post in what's those groups in Nashville? It used to be like buy, sell, whatever,
Yep.
or those type of groups, or like hip Nashvilles or hip this or hip that. I used to post in all of those groups. So you could probably search my name. You can see old posts. But I used to post in all of those groups. And it was because whoever bought, those are the people I was trying to replicate. So I'm like, oh, okay, this person bought, they're married. Okay, this person bought, they're single. This person bought, they look like this. And so taking that data, replicating those audiences, that's what transitioned us to also put that same information into Facebook ads. Because then I was like, I know exactly who I'm selling to. They look like this. They spend money like this. They live here. They're in these areas. So that is the way that I was able to expand my brand. The first year that we opened, I think we were right at like 40,000 for the year. The second year, I think we ended at like 180. And then last year, of course, we were like just short of 1 million. And so, of course, we anticipate like doubling where we are this year in terms of revenue, but it's just replicating those audiences because I know who we're serving. So you want to do the same thing.
Man, I look like you said a lot of the things that I can teach the folks. So I'm so happy to hear that. A lot of folks, like you said, with the Facebook ads, I hear from folks that are like, oh, I tried Facebook ads, they didn't work. And I'm like, you didn't target right.
That is my biggest
if you target right, it's proven that it
and you
works.
also have to do the work to know who you're targeting. So you can't skip steps, even if we don't start in the same place. And a lot of times people want to skip steps and they want to do Facebook ads, they want to do all these things. But then when you ask them like, well, who is this for? It's like everybody. And it's like, no, it's not for everybody. It's for a specific person that looks like XYZ, whatever that may be.
I'm telling you, anybody who teaches entrepreneurs in any way are going to give you that same message that you got to know. Like, that's the first step. You got to know your target audience. You got to know their pain points. You got to know what problem you're solving. And many times we just skip to, I want to sell earrings. Like, we don't know, like, to who, why would they want our earrings versus the earrings at the beauty supply.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. And you're excited, you want to do it, or even if you like it. And I'm like, that's fine. But at the same time, we all start there where you don't really know. But that's why you have to put yourself out there. You have to test, you have to ask. And if you don't, then it's like, you really trying to sell, or is this just a trend that you want to ride,
I'm telling you, I love it. And I also love that you said you put it in the groups and that helps you to gather data and understand your audience versus like, we have a lot of folks, and I'm like, my boy Tristan Sutton, he's in Houston, and he's a Facebook ads guru, and he says the folks are out here posting and hoping. Posting these groups, and they're hoping that something sells. There's no true strategy. There's no
Yeah,
data being gathered. You didn't understand who did buy from you. So I mean, while it seems like there's so many things you got to do, and there are, if you want to do it the right way, and if you want to see your business go to six figures and then to seven figures and then to eight figures, you
right.
got to do these things, and it translates across industries as well. Before we wrap up, I want to also learn a little bit more about your tech career, because I know right now tech is just it. If we don't get involved with tech, we're gonna get left behind. Whether
Right.
we're entrepreneurs, if we're business professionals, if we're students, whatever it is, we have to learn to leverage tech. And there are so many opportunities out here, job opportunities that are available, and we aren't able to take advantage of them. Or we feel like you said, that we're not a techie. And so
Mm-hmm.
not realizing that we may have transferable skills. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that journey as well.
Definitely. So that was my trajectory. So I started at Assuring what year did I start? I think 2010. So I was a customer service rep and I was there for about 5 years. So I started as a CSR, so meaning I don't have a technical background. It's not like I did technical support or any of that. I was talking to customers, about phones. And
Yeah.
so, and it wasn't about anything technical. It was about phone insurance. Like, okay, here's your deductible, here's checkout, get off my line, bye. And so, long story short, when I was there, I noticed that was the direction that they were going. So, Assuring is huge now, but they were really trying to be a leader in the tech industry. And I'm like, dang, it's the reason why, then I heard all of these things. And I was like, man, I can't code. I don't know how to get over there. And also in my mind, the person who was in the technical field didn't look like myself. So I had never seen somebody young, black, or a woman necessarily in the technical field. So I didn't really know where to look for in terms of those resources. And so, long story short, making this story really short, I had a few people who kind of were like, you ask a lot of questions, you would be good in tech. And I'm like, why do you keep telling me that? And they're like, because you ask questions. That's what tech is about. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
they're telling me something. Well, when it dawned on me one day that even with my customers being a CSR, I was really good at not having escalations or not having problems with my customers because I would ask them questions that other people just didn't think to ask. So if they were having problems with the phone, problem with the deductible, I would say, well, what happened last time? And they would tell me, and they're telling you what happened. So I would replicate the steps and be like, oh, okay, now you're good. And so I realized, okay, I'm troubleshooting. I am walking these customers through these steps. I am doing some things. And to me, that dawned on me that that was transferable into tech. And so, long story short, at Assurant, that's when I switched over to their tech department. My first role was a quality assurance role, but it wasn't quality assurance where I measured the quality of a call. I was measuring the quality of the software. So what you did was you played as a dummy or a customer, and you went on the site and you clicked buttons and you checked things that they worked or they didn't work. But basically, they wanted that insight from somebody who wasn't technical because the average person isn't technical. And so once I realized that there were so many paths for me, I was like, wow, tech is it. This is what I want to do. I really just created a lane for me to really grow my soft skills. So a lot of people feel like they need to code, they need to learn Python or Java or go to a boot camp. And those are great avenues for those who want to do it. But there are a plethora of jobs that is not required. Even how we're talking about e-commerce. E-commerce, in a sense, is you asking questions and thinking outside of the box. It's marketing. It's you being very, very creative of how you get to a certain path. And that is what tech is about. So long story short, what I do now is I'm an organizational change manager. I work for a lot of major companies here in Atlanta where I really help their organizations navigate through change. So anywhere from 5,000, 40,000 people will help them make the transition of change. And it's all using soft skills. So a lot of what I do is I talk to people, focus groups, surveys, ask them questions, let them vent to me about the system or whatever they don't like. And then I tell the super technical people and they fix it and we implement over time. So I say all that to say it's a plethora of roles that are out there that are very similar to that. So if you're a good person or a good speaker, rather, if you're a person who's really well developed in leadership, if you're a person who's very creative, if you're a person who likes to think outside of the box or problem solve, or even if you're an introvert and you don't like being bothered, but you think analytically, you're a really good fit for tech. And so, I really make people more aware of those roles that may fit them if they don't see where they fit in that box, because it's really not a box, it's just a circle.
I love it. That was amazing and extremely helpful because, like you said, there's so many roles available. There's so many transferable skills. There are things that you may be doing that can transfer into a role. I also love what you're doing with the organizational changes. I tell you, I've worked for corporations and they're like, we're going to Salesforce or we're going to whatever, and it's a mess.
A
And
mess.
we're all just trying to navigate and figure it out. And from a corporate perspective, it can be demoralizing. It can really be frustrating as an employee when you are trying to navigate and use a new system and you
And
have
they haven't
no
told
idea.
you anything, and then you still got stats to meet, and you still have to maintain those same expectations, but they have not positioned you to where you can really walk into it and grasp it. So that's why I'm there to be like, wait a minute, is this affecting people's commissions? Because if so, we may need to roll back what it is we're trying to do.
Yeah.
So, they just need people who not technical at all, but really just give common sense. Because if you're usually those who are very technical, they think a certain way. It's this or that. They're not necessarily thinking about the impacts of people and their livelihood. And that's a lot of what I do.
I love it. This is amazing. And I'm super happy to have you. I think that, just the ability to think about tech from a different perspective and all the different avenues that are available when it comes to transitioning into a career that could be really lucrative for you is something that's really important for our community. Also, the e-commerce is so important. We have seen such a boom through this pandemic of micro businesses that are e-commerce brands. Like, we've seen a huge increase in them, but there's so much that you need to be doing, and there are a lot of things, they're not secrets. The
Right.
information is out here, but I want to get it in the face of those e-commerce brands, small black owned businesses, micro businesses that really need this information to be able to grow. So I'm super happy to have you on the team, Shanayla. I'm excited. The next month we'll be coming back and we'll dive a little bit deeper into some tips for e-commerce brands and things that they can do to start to establish their brand and grow their brand online. I'm over the moon excited about this.
I am
So
too.
much for being on the team. I tell you, just today, this was like an intro. We were like, oh, I'm just gonna do a little intro. But there was so many gems that would drop so much important information. So I hope you all found some value. I see in the comments that folks are saying this was great, love it, love that. So I'm happy to have you, and we'll be back next month.
All right. Sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. And